GTA 6 will certainly feature a massive map with a wide variety of locations, and one of the wildest among them will be Grassrivers. This place is filled with alligators, different kinds of wildlife, deadly predators and strange discoveries. It is also full of interesting people. It feels wild and mysterious at the same time, which makes it stand out even more. Today, we are going to go over everything we know about Grassrivers. We will look at its appearances and trailers, screenshots, the official GTA 6 website description, and the community-made map, so we can get a better sense of where it sits on the map and how it may look in the game. I already made videos like this about Pod Gellhorn, Ambrosia and Mount Kelga, so if you would like, you can check those out too, but for now let's focus on Grassrivers and start with the official description from the GTA 6 website. Welcome to the Wetlands, the untamable jewel of Leonidas' crown. You never know what lies beneath the surface of this primordial expanse. The gators may be the most famous attraction, but there are far deadlier predators and weirder discoveries among the mangroves. As the description suggests, this is the untamable jewel of Leonidas' crown, and there is plenty to discover here. First of all, there are the gators, which are clearly meant to be one of the biggest attractions. But what makes this especially interesting is the mention of deadlier predators and weirder discoveries among the mangroves. Because, you know, in GTA 5, GTA San Andreas, Red Dead Redemption, we had the Bigfoot mystery and other hidden secrets. In Leonida, which is based on Florida, there is also a mysterious creature that is basically the Florida version of Bigfoot called the skunk ape. It actually lives in the Everglades, which is what Grassrivers seem to represent in GTA 6. What I think Rockstar is implying with the mention of deadlier predators and weirder discoveries is that beyond ordinary wildlife, we will almost certainly find some mysteries or strange creatures there, such as the skunk ape or unusual people, much like the kind of characters we had in Red Dead Redemption 2, such as killers and other very interesting people living out there on the edges of the map. I also think we may find cabins there, along with the discoveries to make and maybe even weird creatures or ghosts. So there is definitely a lot going on in this area. First, we need to look at the postcard from the official GTA 6 website. It shows an airboat, which makes perfect sense for an area like this, since that type of transportation is very common in real life in Everglades. Beyond that, there is not too much else to see, just a lot of grass, bushes, trees, birds and the sunset. That is basically it at first glance, but do not judge too quickly because the screenshots and trailers reveal much more. So I think we should take a look at the trailers first and then move on to the screenshots. This is the shot from the first trailer and it looks a lot like the postcard we just saw. Once again we can see different birds and people on the airboat, but I think it's worth taking a closer look at them. One person is driving and controlling the airboat, while another has some kind of carbine or shotgun in his hands, resting by his seat. We will get a better look at these people later in the screenshots because they will be the kind of people living in these locations. The point is this place will clearly be big on hunting, just like Mount Kelga, although this one will mostly focus on alligators. I also believe that, as we had in Red Dead Redemption 2, there will be legendary animals here. In Grassrivers, I think we will definitely have a few of them, especially some huge alligator that is unlike any other and gives us some kind of legendary loot. Maybe, just like in Red Dead Redemption 2, we will be able to craft clothing out of that legendary animal, but maybe I'm just getting ahead of myself. The other shot is right next to that one, and you probably remember it very well. We see lots of flamingos, birds, ducks, probably even deer in the background, and of course alligators. So there is a lot of greenery here, and this whole location, Grassrivers, will be extremely dangerous to walk through on foot. Just like in Red Dead Redemption 2, alligators are no joke. If they catch you, you are basically done for. So you will have to be very careful walking around there, and it will probably be much better to use some kind of transportation, just like airboat or a car. Still, this area will be very interesting, especially for players who enjoy fishing or hunting. Now we're getting to something even more exciting, because what we saw before was mostly just animals, nothing too crazy. But here in the second trailer we get a better look at what seems to be a mission taking place there. Obviously we can see two airboats, a bridge crossing over the area and some animals, including deer running and even some boars fleeing as well. But what is more interesting and what we should focus on is that this mission seems to involve Jason and Brian Hedder. We do not see Lucia here, which might mean that this mission takes place before we actually meet Lucia from prison. You can also see a huge minigun mounted on the helicopter with Brian handling it and Jason controlling the helicopter, which looks absolutely insane. It looks incredibly detailed and the whole shot almost looks like real life. The reflections on the water are excellent and you can see two people on the airboat. one driving while the other one looks at Jason, probably shooting him. And just look at that reflection on Jason's glasses. You can literally see sunlight passing through them. That looks incredible. The whole scene shows a very intense pursuit in the helicopter, and I am pretty sure many people, myself included, will try to fly under that bridge while in the helicopter, just because it looks so neat to do. Now let us talk about the screenshots, because we have 4 of them and they are very interesting and give us even more information. Once again we see an airboat. As I said before, it is a huge part of this location. We also saw them in other places like Ambrosia, but in Grassrivers they seem to be a major feature. These are clearly the kinds of people we will meet in this area, like hillbillies or rednecks, maybe even more of that type. You can also clearly see that they have modified guns, which look really cool. The weapons are different too. You can see scopes on them along with different camouflage patterns and different colors, so obviously gun customization will be pretty big in this game. What is also interesting is the detail in the scene. You can see a bobcat that they caught, so bobcats will definitely be present in this location. You can also see an alligator once again, which makes it clear that hunting alligators here is a normal thing. Then we see some kind of bait for fishing, I think, although I could be wrong. We can also see Patriot beer cans and bottles, and those bottles just look fantastic. You have probably already noticed how realistic the bubbles are and how the liquid moves inside the bottle, so everything in this scene looks incredible. In the background we can see some kind of cabin again with the Patriot beer flag, and then there is the sign that says no trespassing, violators will be persecuted. But I think in this case, if you violate the property, they will probably just kill you and nobody would care. They also have some black wrapped objects there, and I honestly do not know what it could be. Maybe it's some kind of drugs, maybe I'm wrong, but who knows. Overall, this location looks really interesting and I would love to explore it. If we look more closely at the NPCs, the guy looks pretty cool with a funny haircut and colorful glasses. The woman has different tattoos and the guy has a pretty cool necklace with what looks to be like a shark tooth. His beard also looks large and very realistic. I had never noticed this before, but you can also see that his left eye may be damaged because only one eye seems to be open, which is another interesting detail. Then we have another screenshot which Rockstar placed in the Grassrivers folder and named it Grassrivers 02. Also, you cannot actually see any Grassrivers here directly, still it is clearly part of that area. This location is very interesting and neat. You can see animals, a boat full of people fishing, and some kind of cafes and restaurants with lots of people around. You may also notice what seems to be like a kid, which could mean that children will be in the game because that person really does look like a child. Another interesting thing is that you can literally see the interior, so this seems to be some kind of a bar or restaurant with the inside visible. That is also pretty cool. In the background you can see lots of other restaurants and small cafes, a bunch of cars and boats, and more interestingly you can literally see Vice City with many skyscrapers and buildings and even a factory on the right. The variety of vehicles is amazing. This location will clearly be part of the more civilized side of Grassrivers and it will be very interesting to explore. In particular, that bar or restaurant with the visible interior looks like a place we might actually be able to enter, especially since you have probably already heard rumors that many buildings in GTA 6 will be enterable, and this may be one of them too. Once again, this area will be huge when it comes to hunting and airboats, because airboats just keep appearing everywhere. You can see them in almost every screenshot or moment from this region. Here again there is another airboat and it seems to be a different model because it looks differently from others. We can see a guy controlling it and another guy with a double barrel shotgun clearly shooting at alligators. What I actually think is that the people we see in the screenshot may be the same people from the first screenshot, except for the woman, since she is not visible here. Look at the driver, he looks a lot like the guy from the first screenshot, even though the tattoos are a little bit different. The guy with the double barrel also seems to have the same body structure and haircut as the one in the first screenshot, although that does not really matter. I do not think they are especially important because they are probably just random NPCs. Still, you can see 3 alligators approaching them, which is obviously a very bad situation to be in. The water and the greenery looks absolutely amazing, and you can also spot extra details like a bucket, a net, and the box for whatever they catch, and it all looks great. Now to the last screenshot. This final screenshot shows some action. You can clearly see a pursuit, so alligator hunting is probably illegal, or maybe it depends on how many you kill, because there are lots of dead alligators in the back of the truck. One guy is driving, another in the back with a gun, and you can see police cars chasing them. Once again there is an airboat and even a helicopter. Overall this looks very intense and really cool. This one is one of my favorite shots from that area because it looks so good. You can see even more alligators, flamingos, and wildlife in general, along with deers and birds. Now let us take a look at the community made map State of Leonida, which was created created by Yanis and a number of other amazing people who deserve to be credited. They are the GTA 6 mapping community on Discord, so a big shout out to them for all this incredible hard work. I will use this map to talk about Grassrivers. So let us begin with the most mapped out part of the Grassrivers area, which is obviously Watson Bay. This is the screenshot that takes place right here, as you can see. Basically, they managed to map out all the buildings they could see in that screenshot, including some cafes, restaurants and similar places. They even connected those buildings to real life locations that were likely used as references for this area. So overall it looks pretty cool. Then in this part of the map, the shots they pointed out in the middle of Grassrivers are mostly speculation, because you cannot really know exactly how Grassrivers will look. It is just a huge area of swamps, trees, bushes, water and all kinds of greenery. That makes it one of the hardest parts of the map to pinpoint, because you cannot really make certain assumptions when all you have is a large stretch of swampy landscape. But still, they did a very good job. They are obviously much better at this than I am, so it's not really for me to judge. As you can see, the shot from trailer 1 takes place right here, and there is another one that I did not mention in the trailer section earlier. They actually placed that moment from trailer 2 right here as well. I did not include it there because I was not completely sure it actually took place in the Grassrivers area. However, I think the people from the mapping community are more knowledgeable than I am, so I think they may be right about this. It is very possible that it really does take place somewhere around here. Overall, the map suggests that this region is very close to the Leonida Keys, right next to the prison where we will meet Lucia, and also near Hamlet. But roughly speaking, it will look something like this. So it is a large and interesting area to explore. It looks absolutely amazing, a wild and fascinating location full of animals, hunters, mysteries, just as I said earlier. And let us not forget about the Skunk Cape, which makes a huge mystery possible, along with murder mysteries and maybe even some Dexter references. If you are a Dexter fan and you have watched the show, you probably know exactly what I mean. But beyond that, I'm sure there will be plenty of activities there. I hope this gives you a rough sense of where Grassrivers sits on the map, especially thanks to the community mapping effort. More videos like this will follow soon. We still need to cover Leonida Keys and Vice City, so there is still a lot left to explore. And if you enjoyed this video, subscribe to my channel and leave a like. It really helps me work toward my goal of reaching 1000 subscribers before GTA 6 launches. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye.